When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them, because they need you.
Welcome to Diddygate here on Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and I'm here as always with It's Kim with our trial recap coverage. And I'll be honest, Kim, I was a little busy today prepping for some stuff, and so thank you for covering. I've heard, and I see in the chat, today was a little underwhelming. Is that the summary? What do you think?
I think it depends on what it is you're looking for with this trial, right? You're not going to have, every trial is not going to have days where it's like super big fireworks or anything like that. I had a few things today that I thought were quite interesting. We got a bit more information about what was found during the raids, and some photos were released as well to the general public. So we actually got to see, you know, that day when media went nuts and we were finding out that there was the raid going on in California, there was a raid going on in Florida. We got to see some of that today. There were a few things there I was not expecting. So that was interesting. And then we also got to see old name that came up on this channel a couple of years ago that some of you that followed the Depp trial may remember. Don Hughes took the stand. And I'm just going to own it right here. I have some bias against her because I was not impressed with what I saw through the Depp trial. And bluntly put, it has nothing to do with my stance on Amber Heard or Johnny Depp. It was the choices she made as a practitioner that I strongly disagreed with. And I was not the only one. I remember Christopher Melcher and I had quite a conversation about it during the recaps of just the choices that she made as far as diagnosis. I did not respect it. I have a lot of difficulty with her as a doctor, but we're going to go through what she said, and I'm going to do my best to be neutral and, as a patient myself of trauma therapy, talk about things that I know she's right about, but also things that to me are a little bit And then after that, we got to see another witness, which was, I believe, George Kaplan, who was an ex-assistant of Diddy's, and he got a little bit interesting, and we'll get into that. So we still have more to hear from him, but there was some stuff that was interesting that happened today, but it wasn't the same amount of fireworks as what we've seen in the past.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you got to follow the whole trial is the truth, and we are. You got to make sure you file every day, and she's right. Not every day can be a turd on the bed, Kim. You know what I'm saying? You can't have those kind of revelations every day. A lot of people were excited because Kid Cudi might show up, but he didn't. Now that may be, what is that, tomorrow, Friday? Do we know? Did they confirm, or we just still don't know?
Kid Cudi should be happening tomorrow. They're saying that there actually will be 5 witnesses tomorrow, and they may finish early. They're going to be rapid fire. So, I mean, the defense may have something to say about whether or not they finish quickly, but, you know, we'll go from there.
Well, before it started, there was an exchange about Kim Porter, how evidence could veer into sympathy. Combs' role as the last remaining parent to his children with Porter could register in the minds of the jurors and bias their decision-making, so there was discussion about that. Attorneys also discussed the scope of Dawn Hughes' testimony. She was not contracted to review the details of the case and will only be focusing on concepts. It's kind of like...
This is important.
I think I have it, Kim. Here, I should still have it. This guy. Remember him?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes.
Yes, you have to say things, Spiegel. But again, like judging Johnny Depp off of his movies is not a proper evaluation, right? And
No,
Dawn Hughes was at the Depp trial as well and was not very well regarded, it's fair to say. And so here she was, seemingly on the right side this time, it seems, but I think we're proving she is not a very good one of these professions.
We'll get into it all. We'll get into it all point by point as we go.
On top of that, though, we're going to get there. There was his sons. So Justin and King did appear in courthouse today. There was a report yesterday, I guess, and someone in the court said that Diddy said, "Please let Justin know I'm thinking of him," seemingly referring to his son. And then he gave like the heart emoji. There was a shot of that. And now his kids are back. So who knows what was going on or what they tried to do. I don't mean to be negative, Kim, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to intimidate or do something, because I think it was Emily on her Instagram I saw was doing the homework of who's funding the free Diddy. It all goes back to the Diddy coin, which is then run by his kids. So yeah, they're out there doing some stuff, in my opinion, that might be potential shady. Before we get in, you had your hand up. Go ahead. What do you want to say before we get to Gerard's testimony?
Oh no, I think I was just throwing my hair back. But yeah, I don't have a huge amount of details on what's going on with that. It does look like Justin and King were back in court today. I don't believe we saw his mom at all again, but again, I'm not surprised by that. She is an older woman. And again, they're not going to be there every single day. So with that, the day started and we picked up where we left off with the Homeland Security Special Agent who was in charge of the Miami raid. And he
Yeah, we got a lot of photos, right?
Yes.
Some of these are safe, some of them not.
Some of them are safe, some of them are not. What I will say right off the bat is there are a lot of photos that were released today of pew-pews. Many, many pew-pews. Now, there are some close-ups you may be able to show, Andy, where the serial numbers on these have been removed.
Yeah, before we get there, because if you're listening, we're looking at the photos on YouTube. You can always become a watcher over on YouTube. Join Popcorn Planet there to see what we're talking about, not just hear it. But I did want to say, I actually did go to Star Island, Kim, way back before this all started. I did a little video for the audience. I took one of those boat tours around. You can't get in, but it's important to remember he had both of these houses. This house was also his, and they didn't raid that house for some reason. I don't understand why, but he owned both of these. And then King, was it King Combs? Had the audacity to make a rap song like, "Feds didn't even get the right house." It was like, morons.
I called him Yeet Skirt at the time because it was just so bad.
But anyway, there was a second house that they didn't go into. That's right next door. It would be bizarre to me that they only focused on the one. Maybe this is where all this stuff happened. And this is maybe the family house. I don't know. But you'd think if you're going to go do the raid and do it right, you'd do both houses. All right. Well, there you go. I can't show a ton of those, but yes, as pew-pews, there's a lot of items around these things, stacks of money.
I will say, if you want to prep, get ready for photo 40, and we'll get to that in a minute. Don't put it up yet.
The rubber ducky justice. There's now looking at a lot of substances and clips and wow. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. That's a crazy, look at that Buccaneers logo. I'm just scrolling through for my own, but wow. What is high? I think I can show that. That's
There's
just a lot of high heels.
There's a lot of high-heeled shoes and a lot of
he really
lingerie.
liked a specific kind of shoe.
Yeah, rope, a lot of rope and cuffs. And this bathroom too was quite a moment because there's stuff written on the mirror, like in lipstick. It's like, "You are a legend," blah, blah, upward motion and things like that. So it's like where people put Post-it notes on their mirrors to remind them, like with happy affirmations. His is just sprawled in lipstick of like, "I'm an icon." So that was
and here's that rope he was talking about. Wow, they really are going for it. This is like 50 Shades level.
Yeah. Now, apparently there were at least, from what I was gathering, 13 pairs of platforms. Now, here's the thing that I've been asking myself.
A wireless flicker. I can't say what it is. But
no.
And here we get into lots of loot, lots of baby oil.
We don't know what size the shoes are.
You just took it to such a darker place.
It can go to many places. Many places. We don't know what size the shoes are. There also were 3 cell phones that were found in this pair of black rain boots. Don't know what the specifics are of that
That's strange.
Yet,
Who leaves 3 cell phones in a boot? That's something you're hiding from
I don't know what
somebody
that's
in the
a boot.
house. The feds won't find it. Hide in that boot. Freaking moron. Wow.
The wellies.
They were inside the boot.
Yeah.
A lot of photos. All right. This is fascinating.
Yeah,
really getting more insight.
Okay, don't go too far though. Hang on. Don't go too far. Stop. We got to go through some other notes. So we have the heels. We had the phones that were found inside of the boot. There is apparently now.
Sorry, but is this what Gerard's? Because I didn't read your note. He's setting up all these photos. Is that what was happening?
Yes.
So the jury was scrolling through all these photos as well today.
And then also showing the actual pieces of evidence in the courtroom. So
all right, keep going.
There were some of the shoes that were shown to the jury. There was a Gucci bag that I believe was shown, and it contained white residue that tested positive
this one, I think.
I'm going to say white powder and K. Their bag also contained smaller bags of different pills, including some that were stamped with the Tesla symbol. So we had Obama yesterday, and today
So
we have
everyone who's
Tesla.
excited, Obama's involved. Well, now apparently Elon Musk is involved too.
I mean, a lot of these things happen. I mean, we're
I want
hearing
to
a
see
lot
the
of
same
FOs happen at
energy
Trump Tower
for
too.
everyone
So,
who's trying to incorporate Obama with Musk now as well.
I mean, I want to see everybody incorporating the Trump Tower, but that's just me.
They're not gonna.
Yeah, and then a lot of other stuff that tested positive for MDM and K and Zanny, lots of that stuff.
This
There also
dresser, I don't
was
think I can show you this, had a lot of toys and
A
lots of
lot
oil.
of toys and yeah, lots of stuff.
And like some sort of server, it looks like here.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that was found in the Gucci bag that I did think was interesting was eye drops that tested positive for substances.
Huh.
So that's a bit unique. Don't really know why that's there.
Well, there was some vital honey for
Yes,
ED.
there was, which is supposed to help ED.
I bet you the
Maybe
Punisher was using that, right?
Yeah, maybe he didn't get the book. Maybe he didn't get the book.
And
then we
then
ended up
here it is. I mean, this isn't as much as I was envisioning based on like Costco levels. It's a lot. Don't get me wrong.
This is
but
just one part, right? This is just
yeah,
one.
I was
one section.
expecting. I mean, how many cases of these were there? And then what's with the rubber ducky, Kim?
There's just 2 rubber duckies. So something I want to just make very clear. There were a lot of these collections of baby oil and Astroglide around the house from the sounds of it. So this was just one section of it. There's also, I don't know if you'll notice on the side, there's a box there of nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
Questions on that one too. But yes, the big thing this morning everyone was asking is, why are there duckies?
Well, I have a theory. He's making like these inflatable pools full of oil, so he's clearly just putting them on as display on top. I think that's what it is. It's creepy, it's weird, but he's clearly like, oh yeah, float the duckies on the baby oil pools.
I mean, the duckies have seen things. I
Oh,
fear
yeah,
for the
no.
duckies.
Poor duckies.
I have so many
This
questions.
ain't no Bert and Ernie action. No, this is
Yeah.
intense.
So, yeah, white towels everywhere.
A lot of towels. I mean, I'd expect a lot of towels.
Mm-hmm.
Hotels level where the towels, what he's going. More nitrous on the bottom. Oh, that's a close up of that. That's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the close up of that area.
Yeah. So
More pills.
lots of substances. There was a crystal rock-like substance that they just kept saying with other pills, and the main ingredient of magic mushrooms were found.
Well, hold on. Can we
In a
talk about
wooden-
weird clear bags filled with why?
This is what I mean. The baby oil was scattered. It was not just in the closet. It was everywhere.
And he has so much. Like, just throw it away and get a new
And
one.
there's
if it's
Astroglide
leaking.
there too. I don't know if you can see it. It's underneath.
Why are they in plastic bags? Like what? What?
I don't know.
What is to make them more portable? That's creepy. Really creepy.
Yeah.
And then more brands.
I think at one point the photos do go back to the New York hotel room. Like that's the hotel room. We're out of the house
my
now.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it was 2 bottles, but still.
It's too much. There was also a wooden box that was found that had a like puffy engraved in the top or marked as puffy on the top, and that had more substances in it. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. There's the wooden box. And it all was topped off that there was a hand pew-pew that was found in a suitcase in the guest house or the guard house or whatever. It was recognized as the guard shack was what they called it. And this pew-pew was loaded. Ready to go.
Yikes. Yeah, I've gone through them all. I've showed you guys what I can show you. I'm
Yeah.
still weirded out by this. The
Now,
baby
the
oil
one-
half open in plastic bags.
Yeah. Now, there was one other thing that I thought was notable through this exchange, and I have it at the end of this section, Andy, and it is actually a sketch artist image from today.
Okay, I'm opening
don't
up.
know-
Just one commenter, just before I forget it, one commenter saying there's probably substances in those baby oil bags. That's a good theory. Who knows?
It's a theory.
Can't
Yeah.
confirm, but go ahead. So, all right, I'm looking for the illustration next.
Yep. So I can go here, right there. I just highlighted it for you. If you go to the next page.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was
Yeah.
reading.
So we don't know when this happened, but Inner City Press had one of the sketch artists share this with him, I believe. And it shows Diddy putting his head in his hands. And we believe that this was happening during this point where pews were being taken out. People were seeing all this evidence in all these bags, and doesn't look like he was doing super great.
I mean, to be fair, that could have been, "Ugh, I'm so tired, I'm so bored." I mean, that could be a million reasons. To be fair, that's why there should be cameras in the courtroom so we can actually get a sense of what this means. He could have been tired. He probably was not sleeping well. I don't know what that means, but yeah, probably a face palm. I would have one too if I were him, because I would know I'm going to jail for the rest of my life, right? So I could see why he'd want to do that.
Then we moved into the cross-examination. So I believe it was Tenny Garagos came out for this one. And she started asking about details of the raid. It definitely seemed like they were focusing on trying to say that this raid was overkill, that it was ridiculous what happened. They talked about that there was a SWAT-type vehicle and a boat to carry out the search. And it was very strange because it kind of just sounded like they were trying to make a really big deal out of the boat. But it's Star Island and they had a dock. So, of course, they have to have something on the water to make sure that people aren't leaving and they shouldn't be and all that type of stuff. I really don't understand what they were trying to do with that. So Gannon said that that sort of equipment was typical of such searches. And then also that the gate was damaged through the raid. They drove into the gate.
Oh
Apparently.
no. What are they going to do?
I know. Apparently that's standard, though. So the workers at the house were also Sorry, I'm reading weirdly. The defense also asked Gannon about the workers encountered by law enforcement during the raid on the mansion in Miami, a property manager, a music producer, and some facilities employees. Gannon said these people were put in handcuffs until they were identified and searched. One uncooperative person, he said, was kept cuffed for a bit longer.
Wasn't his son kidnapped? Wasn't his son cuffed?
They did not mention names of who these people were, to the best of my
But I
ability.
just remember from there, I think one of his sons got cuffed. We talked about that. They're like, how dare they cuff him? One uncooperative person. They're clearly doing a little shout out there. You are not cooperative.
Yeah. No arms were found on the workers and no paraphernalia. And the defense then put up a sealed exhibit. The prosecution then asked for the screens to be cut off, and the defense advised the witnesses not to say the names of anyone in the photo other than Diddy. We have no idea what was shown, and then it ended. I don't know what it was.
So did the jury get to see it or just the witness?
The jury saw it, I believe. I think. I'm not sure now. No, if the screens were cut off, then maybe they didn't. It was very strange. It was like they brought in this exhibit and it ended. And I was very confused. So I'm hoping that maybe now that the trial date is done and there's more people that were in the courtroom, we'll be able to get a bit more clarification on what the heck happened there. But it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tracy just said WTF. I know. Yeah, literally. That was my reaction as well.
I mean, and don't say the names of anyone else in the photos implies they're people they would know. So
yeah,
that's strange.
It was weird. It was very weird. So with that, the first witness of the day was done, and we moved on to Don Hughes, the clinical and forensic psychologist, who was brought in specifically to talk about the context and broad concepts of DV and trauma.
And if you don't remember Don Hughes, this is her from the Depp trial.
Yeah.
She was not very good.
It did not go well.
Dr. Curry crushed her.
Oh my gosh, it was brutal.
It was really bad.
Oh my gosh.
And I think they brought her back, Dawn, after Curry's testimony, which was so fantastic. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Definitely one of these situations. I don't know if it really could have gone much worse. And yeah. So
yeah, she was on Amber's side. Was Amber's psychologist?
Mm-hmm.
Because she thought Johnny was the abuser. So that she's just clearly he wasn't. So that was just a big L on her part. But
there
anyway,
also was just so much of what I actually went back and I watched one of the videos from her testimony today that we did, and just the hearsay count, all of these things that she said Johnny did because Amber told her, and she just was listing all of these things, and it's like this is hearsay. I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense, and it was very weird. But today she was supposed to testify on 4 main topics: why people stay in relationships despite DV, how they cope, how they disclose and talk about what's happened to them, and how the traumatic events affect the brain. She said no victim wants to be A'd, she testified, and it's very common for people to stay in a relationship. Hughes is what is called a blind expert, meaning she does not know anything about the main figures in the case, including Cassie and Sean Combs.
Which, of course, she does. Of course, she's coming in with bias. That's absurd to imply that she's not. But anyway, keep going.
So Hughes then claimed that victims who stayed in these toxic relationships tended to fall into 3 categories because they feel trapped, they feel a bond to the person who is hurting them, and they believe that the act of leaving the relationship is far too complex to achieve. She then told the court that she's being paid $600 an hour for her work as an expert and then $6,000 a day for her court testimony.
We're in the wrong job, Kim. My God. That's some good money.
Yep.
I mean, I guess she only was there for very briefly in one day, so.
What happened through this whole thing was it was constant objections. We're going to talk more about this as we go through. I can only speculate, and that's why I have a little note here. Kim's note, we can only speculate. My guess is the defense was objecting because she was going outside of the scope of what she was supposed to be talking about. For example, when she was asked about financial independence, she responded, the heir controls housing and transportation, taking away her laptop. She cannot speak to specifics of the situation, is not supposed to be saying anything about the main figures. She should not be saying her in this situation as it implies Cassie. Now, that's my opinion. But that was kind of what I was seeing as I was reading between the lines of all the different reporting that was coming in, and just constant objection, sidebar. And it was ridiculous. So then Hughes testified that DV victims fall prey to psychological SNEA, as well as financial dependence, making it harder for them to fight back and cut themselves loose. That is very true. Victims suffering psychological A walk on eggshells and focus on how to stay safe in the moment rather than a big picture solution, like leaving the relationship. That is true. She also said SA can bring shame and humiliation, which leads victims to worry about keeping this harm private, which again keeps them from seeking an ultimate end to a relationship. And the price of the A leads victims to simply believe they're not worthy of anything anymore, thus draining them of their energy or motivation to get help. Accurate. Hughes described financial dependence as very important, as it deprives the victim of the material resources needed to leave. She said, if you don't have money, you are left with the feeling of, where am I going to go? Again, very accurate. Hughes said it is not common for victims to disclose their A near the time it took place. It's called delayed disclosure, and it takes place due to fear of not being believed, shame, and embarrassment. Also, PTSD can make recalling these things really difficult, can confirm, and the brain tries to avoid the source of the fear. But the trauma does not remain in the background forever. And also, using substances to dissociate or to numb the pain is very, very common. So that was what she said, but there were a lot of objections.
So they are claiming here in the cross-exam, they felt she was giving more information than asked for, as you said. So
yes,
that's true.
So
the pronouns could have helped on that.
Yeah, I was very interested to see the transcription of this eventually when it does come out. I think it could be illuminating. It's hard to know whether or not the defense was just being, overdoing it or not, but it was, yeah. So the defense then did the cross-examination. And as I said, they interjected through a lot of the questioning, saying that she was giving more information on what they asked for. When it was his turn, the defense tried to prompt Hughes to say that people don't fit into boxes. Hughes didn't quite agree, saying that there are categories or conditions or diagnoses that a person can fit.
Yeah, because her job otherwise doesn't exist if she can't put people in boxes. Let's keep it real.
I mean, it's the DSM-5 is a thing. So the defense then asked Hughes about malingering, which he defined as the exaggerating or distorting of facts based on a person's circumstance. Hughes then corrected him, saying that it was specifically about fabricating emotional or physical symptoms. Now that cross was then interrupted by a lunch break. And I have to be annoying here and say, Hughes is wrong. Hughes is wrong. I literally have the definition of malingering from the National Library of Medicine. And it is absolutely clear that physical is a part of this as well. It's like the first line there. Malingering is the falsification or profound exaggeration of illness, physical or mental, to gain external benefits such as avoiding work or responsibility. So it was kind of these little things that I was just noticing. I'm like, are we really trying to? The bias felt strong. And as much as I agree with a lot of what Dawn said today, we need this to be a fair trial. Right?
Yeah, she's not a good expert at this. It's a bummer too, because like you said, a lot of this is valid and true.
Yeah.
That's a
so
bummer.
after lunch it continued.
So they didn't, and it looks like they didn't address it after lunch, the malingering. They sort of let it malinger a little bit, linger there.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
So the defense then asked Hughes, you agree that a psychologist cannot give an opinion when a psychologist has not assessed the person. She acknowledged that there is some controversy about this in her field, but we can make some conclusions based on records. The defense then prompted her to acknowledge that she didn't review transcripts, police reports, psychological reports, or ask friends and family about the case before testifying about DV. Hughes said she had not, and it was not what the prosecutor summoned her to court to do. When the defense described her testimony as general background information, Hughes clarified, it's called general subject matter testimony. The defense asked her whether someone may want to go to a civil plaintiff lawyer to make a little money. The defense then noted that Hughes had mentioned that victims might call the police or talk to loved ones, and then asked if someone in that position would want to make some money. She responded, I would say they want to right a wrong. So things were getting a little pokey at this point.
So it was the first time Diddy's side's actually maybe getting some points.
Maybe.
Discrediting this expert.
Maybe. I could see the jury kind of going, this is a bit weird. Now, the prosecutors and the defense lawyers kept breaking again for a lot of sidebars during her testimony as they argued over the scope of what she was allowed to talk about. At one point, the judge actually just sent the jury out and said, this is going to take a few minutes. And when Dawn returned, she was then asked about training DV advocates. It was like they found something. I think they found an old webinar that she did that they felt was contradicting some of what she was saying, and they were trying to bring that in. And then they had another exchange about how much money she charged for people. And then this moment happened. The defense then asked, you've been retained hundreds of times, but you've never come into court and testified in defense of a man accused of an S crime. She responded, that's correct. I don't evaluate offenders. Now, there's two ways you could interpret that statement, and I'm going to give you a minute.
That's a real messed up bias showing. Hello, ma'am, you dropped your bias? She's supposed to be an uninformed bias expert witness, correct, Kim?
Yeah, accused does not mean offender. But at the same time, if she is constantly being retained by the person who is saying someone did this to me, I understand why that language was used. That being said, when you know some of her history and how she has been accused in the past of being sexist, this was weird.
Yeah, I mean, it completely discredits her because he's on trial to see if he is.
And
so
to
you
be
just
clear,
don't like men. So like, okay, you're not a good person to do this then. That's crazy.
So to be clear, Inner City Press had that verbiage. So did CNN. And so did the Washington Post. I believe that is what she said. I was hoping that it would have been just like taken a bit out of context. Like she just said, well, you know, I'm usually hired by a plaintiff. I'm hired by the plaintiff, so I don't end up with that position.
And the comments saying it, but I'll say, you evaluated Amber. You did. And she was definitely an abuser. And if she admitted to it, Dawn, so you're a bit of a hypocrite. I would say a lot of a hypocrite, actually. That's nuts. I can't believe she went and said that. Yeah. So again, hence why there's bias, because she's saying good things, but she's now proving that she's just hired for gun. Men are the worst. What any woman I will defend, is what they're doing. So that's. I would not be surprised if she's hired by Blake Lively's team to go after Justin Baldoni. Maybe
And
they'll
this is
wise
kinda-
up now that Dawn's not getting as many wins as they thought, but we'll see.
Yeah. So the defense then asked if she had met with the prosecution 6 times and if she had discussed specific topics with them, followed by asking if she had assisted in the prosecution writing briefs. Then another sidebar was called. The court is actually playing white noise every time they have a sidebar, so the jury doesn't hear their discussions. And the Washington Post reported the jury has heard a lot of white noise today.
Which they don't like. That's not
No.
good. The jury gets peeved that because they're not getting paid enough to sit there all day. They're doing their civic duty to sit there and just, come on, get your shit together. That can really upset a jury.
Yeah. And finally, it was clarified that if she had reviewed filings, they were redacted. At that point, there was recross. And so the feds got back up and ended it with a bit of a zinger. So this whole time they've been trying to discredit her, right? The defense, it was almost like they were trying to get her testimony thrown out because then they were trying to show that she was biased and all of this. And they were asked, have you been, and they asked Dawn, have you also been retained by the defense attorneys? Like, have they hired you in the past? And she confirmed she had, by Brian Steele, who was a late addition to Diddy's defense team.
How did they fuck this up so bad?
This is such
There's
a
a
mess.
million experts, Kim. Like, what are you doing?
And this is where I sat. I'm like, why
appeal,
her?
appeal.
Why her?
So dumb.
It's so dumb on both sides. It's so dumb on both sides. I can't. So then we had a little break. And then the
George Kaplan, another
ex-assistant-
ex-assistant, took the stand.
Came to take
Woo,
the
after the lunch break.
Now, this is important. During the lunch break, George Kaplan came into court to invoke his Fifth Amendment right. He was
So he
subpoenaed
cannot
to be there.
immunity. So basically, I can't perjure myself. I'm not going to testify against myself because things I did potentially are illegal because I was working for Diddy is what he's admiring. So they gave him immunity. That's what I was reading. Yes. So he was granted
Yes.
that morning.
Yes, they granted him immunity, although that does not protect him from perjury.
Got it.
That was made very clear to him.
Yeah, I'm looking
So-
through some of this. He was working between 2013-15 for Combs out of college, worked at Nickelodeon. His boss moved to Combs Enterprises. So he was there for a good amount, worked late night in the studio sessions, always making sure his toiletries were arranged. I'm sure there was some baby oil in that. But yes, so then New York, LA, demanding job, gained his trust. He worked 80 to 100 hours a week, starting at 9 a.m., 9:30, ending at 7 a.m. the next day. Yeah, it's an intense job to be Diddy's assistant. I can't even imagine. We learned a little bit about the other day, but I wonder if we'll learn about applesauce on cheeseburgers. Stay tuned. Combs threatened to fire him about once a month. First time was when he was sent to do an errand on a gallon of water to get a BPA-free bottle. They found none at Whole Foods. He brought back 2 gallons. Oh, geez. Who cares? George
got
Kaplan's
really bad.
duties, Sean, assistant, was set up to hotel rooms. So he would typically go a few hours notice from Combs to set up, along with Chief of Staff Christina Koram. There she is again, Kim. Setting up the
She
rooms,
is
LA,
being
Miami,
mentioned.
New York, stocking them with candles. Oh, there it is. And the baby oil. Combs hotels were booked under the alias. Oh, here they are again. Biggie's alias, Kim. Doesn't that piss you off?
It's weird. It's weird. The fact that it's also on prescription bottles is weird too. All of it's weird. I think this, I mean, if Diddy does end up taking the stand, I would love to hear his explanation on this. You know, because I have the feeling it's going to be like, just my speculation and opinion. Obviously, this hasn't happened, but be like, yeah, it's in tribute type thing. And it's like, no, this is weird. This is weird.
Let's save that topic because will he testify? I feel like he has to at this point, and that's going to be wild. That's a day we need to send someone. I want to go watch him on the stand. Oh my God. My understanding was that they would have guests or a female partner in these rooms. So he wasn't privy to what was happening in the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
During the hotel stays, Kaplan, so he says, he would courier food, closed substances that his boss asked for. He mentioned a bag with tons of different medications, including Advil, Tylenol, K, etc. I'm sure there were other things, but he added he didn't go through the prescription items. He also picked up M substance for Combs, MD, other ones. And then the judge accused the jury for the day. They would need another half hour to wrap up with George. So we'll hear a little bit more with this assistant tomorrow. Again, these assistants come in and they acknowledge sort of stuff that is bad. They're workers for him. So that's what I think the RICO law is getting at, right? Is clearly these are employees of Combs that are then instructed to do these things that are affecting all the women, Cassie, etc. So then what happened afterwards? So they, based on the tweets, Gina, though she's in the indictment, is not coming to court. Costco lawyer accused the feds of choosing not to bring Gina in. Wait, who's Gina?
Gina was a witness that we were expecting to come in. She has publicly talked about being aided by Diddy. She did quite an explosive sit-down interview about it a number of years ago. So we've been expecting to see her. There have been questions about whether or not she is potentially one of the Jane Does. We do not know this to be true at this time 100%. But apparently she's not coming. And Agnifilo was then accusing the feds of choosing not to bring her in. She had been subpoenaed, I believe. So they're fighting about that. I don't know what ended up happening from there. We'll see.
I mean,
as
it's
time.
odd. She should.
It is. It's weird.
That was because there were three. One of them we knew sort of ran, or is that Gina?
We don't know, but it could possibly be. I cannot.
And there's also
confirm it.
potentially Mia.
Mia,
These
we
are
do believe we're going to be seeing.
Other names. Okay. So Gina could be that other one that they were always trying to get and that she's not coming. Okay.
It is a possibility, but we cannot confirm it.
But 5 witnesses they're aiming to bring on tomorrow at the stand, one of which could be Kid Cudi. And it does look like they're trying to get through things quickly. They're not sitting there and setting up a whole theme and motif. They're just getting key things in it. And what I'm noticing from it is that, yeah, they're trying to get the substances out, that he's the boss, that he's making these demands, the baby oil. They're clearly using that as sort of, I would think, to parlay into these parties, which go beyond work. So they're, again, all stemming into RICO law is what this is. What are your thoughts, Kim? Are you getting that vibe as well?
Yes, I feel like they are trying now to really build the RICO case. They want to make it very clear that there was a lot of illegal activity going on every day and that people knew about it that worked with him. And it was a lot. Ultimately, over the day, I was hoping I'd be able to bring you guys more for an update, but there was a lot of sidebar time today, which I think really made things slow down. I was hoping we'd hear more from George today, but clearly that did not happen. So we'll hear more as the days go on. And I know tomorrow with 5 witnesses, I'm guessing they're going to be painting a picture of something. And I would not be surprised if it has to do with the boom boom of the car. That's my bet at this stage, which of course, arson is one of the RICO charges, if they can prove that. And as we've talked about it, it's like, don't they need 2 right at the end of the day? They need 2 of them. So if they can get the arson down, that's a big one. And
sure.
I think it's an important one. And I'm
Introducing
guessing that's why
Ricola
they're
Max
spending
Nasal
so much
Care.
time on it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Maximum mouthful for maximum relief.
Ricola.
Introducing Ricola Max.
I need to find one without, it's hard. They do it so quickly. I can't find the.
They do. They do.
That's Ricola. Copy of that time code. Oh, I finally got one. Oh wait, I'm not. I still,
Prefer
I
a
can't
natural
get it.
alternative.
There it is. Now I got the link.
Motion
Okay,
to
good.
the sound clip is amazing.
I'm gonna add it to the library. Well, there you have it. Day 8 is in the books. My gosh, a lot sort of happened. Hopefully more happens tomorrow, but all of it's important. Thank you, Kim, for all the hard work. Make sure you subscribe to It's Kim. Subscribe here as well, whether you're watching now on the replay, on audio. Hit the subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell for alerts when you get those notifications. Smash the like button and leave a comment down below. We talked a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm going to be making a Tootsie Roll emoji for our live audience because, you know, Kim, we got to deliver. They want it. We're going to make it. You can also join It's Kim Live or watch her replay as well. She's on YouTube at It's Kim.